Welcome to Jayawaves, fellas. On the very first day of 2021, we are kickstarting the second season of the podcast. Huge shout out to Anish who is the guest on today's podcast, who is a serial entrepreneur, so much so that on day number 1 of 2021, he's getting on a podcast and helping me out. So I appreciate it. I'm grateful. We talk about how to manage human resources, the education system, and a bunch more. So I hope you enjoy it. I'm trying to get better at introducing people whilst on the podcast. So it starts a little abruptly and there's literally no proper ending to it. So hey, I hope you can deal with that tiny section, but I promise you everything else is pretty amazing. So yeah, hope you guys enjoy. Oh, and don't forget to like and subscribe at the end of the video. Awesome. I mean, I really don't have an intro for my podcast. I just go off the cuff. Thanks a lot for joining, Anish. I appreciate it. You are a musician. That's how I initially knew. And you're also a serial entrepreneur and you founded a couple of companies. I had to write them down to remember how many actually. I think you started for 4 companies, right? 4?
Yeah, not bad.
Or even more than that I don't know about.
4.
Okay. Brilliant. So let's just go back all the way to when it started. What got you inspired from school? Because I know you started really young, right? Like, where did this mindset of let's just learn as much as we can? And how did that pan out?
Yeah, that's a good observation. I think a lot of people don't realize that I was okay. If you were to take a step back, wow. I woke up. It was New Year's yesterday, so
shit!
I'm like slow.
We're doing this on the 1st of January. I'm so happy that you were available. I apologize though. Yeah, we can just casual interview. That's a part of podcast. Anyway.
I should start waking up little by little. Maybe if I chew on some gum or something. I don't know. You know, there's a saying where if you want to cheat on your test, you chew gum. Because then your brain remembers what you studied. If you're chewing gum while you study.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting. Anyway. So when you said that, in my mind, I was like, okay, when you're chewing gum, and if you're like whispering to the guy next to you, if somebody sees you, you can be like, hey, I was chewing my gum, I wasn't speaking. That's where my mind was going.
Well, very close. No. It's like your brain is whispering to itself. Let's just say.
Okay. Interesting.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so okay, I try to really understand the roots of certain specific actions. Like a lot of people would say, I did it because I wanted to work hard. I did it because of that and this. But I think for me, at least, I think we all have a fundamental linked biology as a human being, right? So just keeping that in mind, like when I started my work at 13, so I was basically in France. I was training to be a pro tennis player for 13 years, right? So for part of that was in France at around age 13. So how I analyzed what happened, and I started, working like crazy. Like I would train in the morning, do homeschooling in the afternoon, train in the evening, and then as soon as I could get my hands on a computer, I would do it. And I would just work, and I would hide in my room trying to make sure my mom doesn't find out I've been working all night, and I wake up early in the morning and go back to training, and my coach is like, are we training him too hard? And I'm like,
wait, let me stop you there. Hold on. I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt you in the middle of this here and there. So you were a pro tennis player or training to be a tennis player at 13?
Oh yeah, so at around 10 I won the junior nationals here, and then I was like full on, right, as a kid. And
so that's a lot of discipline already at 10. Let's go to that. Who started that, and where did that come from?
I honestly don't know. I think that so as a kid I couldn't sit still at all.
Right.
I couldn't sit still. I would have a very naive view on the world as well.
Okay.
Like if I do this, then this will happen. If I play tennis on the wall for like 4 hours at a stretch non-stop, I would become a better tennis player. And I wanted to be number one in the world because it just looked cool. I can also relate it to parent issues in some ways. So that's also there. It's like, Dad, see me, please.
Right. Oh, okay.
I think we all have that, right?
Yeah.
And we like our family is very high performance. So like my parents, they were also entrepreneurs. They are as well. So so I was like, in the world, people value achievement. So I just went on this naive sort of frenzy on training myself, potentially, and I enjoyed it. So so I think that's where it really started, and then
Interesting. Okay, cool. So you're training to be a professional, and on the side, you come home, you don't sleep, you don't rest, you decide let's learn some more. So is that and then like what did you latch on to first? Like how did you figure out the subject matter that you were gonna pursue? What was it? If you want to remember, like what was the thought process back then?
Okay.
I know I'm going like years and years back.
So I if I was to just jump back to the mindset here, so at 13 I felt like my voice in what I was doing was cancelled. So in the physical world, right, like training in the mental world, somewhat with school and whatever, and people were always enforcing their opinions, and I hated it. So the animation world and 3D and interactive media was a safe space for my mind, basically. I could go there and do whatever I wanted. My parents had no background in IT, so no one had a say in that. So suddenly I just did it on my own. I loved it because I could just be naive the way I wanted to be stupid. In also like when I was playing games, I was a complete asshole. I would like in Minecraft, I would trap people, kill them, and whatever it is, right? So same thing. So I got into 3D animation, and at around 13, so then about a year later, I had successfully like made my first few $1,000s and like bought my first computer, bought a guitar. And so in my teenage years, that's when I was building Motion Miracles, the business, right? My first business and personal one. And I had over 350,000 product downloads, towards the end of it. Then, and this is like a paid product. So if you did the math, like majority of the payments were pirated. Majority of the downloads were pirated. I had a full-time anti-piracy team tracking all these things. Wow. And it's millions of dollars worth of files pirated. Millions of dollars. Christ. So I earned a fraction of that. And then I had about 3 million views on one of my YouTube videos promoting the products, and then
So you started that company, and then how old were you when you had this team with you, like the anti-piracy team, and dealing with all of these things?
I think it became a problem at around 15, 16 because I started to see my sales plummet when as soon as I launch a new product, suddenly from just going up, this is a huge tank. As soon as I see the first pirated thing on YouTube, there was a huge community around pirating my stuff. They were boycotting at one point because they found out I had a FBI approved team going around taking down links. They took down tens of thousands of links. And at one point, the community was they used to upload my product on one link like Google Drive, then Mega, then at least 10 to 15 different services. And then put all of them in mine. And then put it on the League forum. And the League forums would have hundreds of pages of comments. So it's crazy. God. Yeah, it is crazy.
So while you're doing this, while you're trying to manage this situation, at 15 years old, what I was thinking about was Pokemon cards or something like that. Where did you access that information on, how you need to do what you need to do?
I think everyone has that, right? I was basically, and whenever I had free time, I would go after lunch, I had a 1 hour break or whatever, I would be on my phone, my iTouch. I think I won that in a tennis tournament, and I was watching all these videos as much as I can. And then Yeah, and I would just basically go above and beyond. Like even the software I was using, I would read the manual where no one else would go, because I had the vision for my products that wasn't achieved from other people. Like I said, I wanted this, but these guys aren't doing that. So what can get me to do that? It is getting more knowledge, and I just did it. It was so easy as a kid, right? When you get into adulthood, people judge you. You don't have a safe space. So honestly, I can be like, that was really easy. I just did it very naively. Yeah.
Interesting. So, okay, you're 15. You sort this out, and you're also homeschooling. At which point did you stop playing tennis? I'm just trying to chronologically order things in my head.
So at around 18, I hit a mental block. 17. I rose to around top 10 in France, and then suddenly I just couldn't play very well anymore. I got injured. And this is when all the, I think flaws, as soon as you get to like a higher level, you have to sort out all your mental issues, which I didn't at the time. So 17, I went back to a regular school for a year in the US, graduated, and then I won this big tournament in the US where and then I decided to pursue tennis a bit longer after that. It's like Andra Agassi, Sharapova, these types of players used to win this one. And then at around 3 months into it, I plummeted again, and I was like, oh my god, fuck this. So I stopped at around 19. And I started Motion Miracles impulsively, like the company. Entity in Sri Lanka.
So you said you were homeschooled till around 16, 17, right? And then, what was homeschool like? Like, did you experience homeschool before? Like, did you start out with homeschool, or did you go to like a traditional school before that? Before you were 13, before you were 10? What was that like? Because I'm Sri Lankan. I don't understand this concept of homeschooling.
So at 10, so from 10 to 13, I was like pretty decent player in the US, and then suddenly, I go to France, and there are all these better players because they were being homeschooled. They were training full time.
Oh, okay.
And then we made this decision that, okay, Anish wants to be a pro tennis player, and we as a team, my parents and I, were like, hey, let's do homeschooling. And how was it? I failed 2 years of homeschooling because I couldn't pay attention to the subject matter. My parents were furious,
I can imagine.
I couldn't, I hated it. I hated everything about school. So I was in a traditional school, till 10. I was at CIS, actually.
Oh, okay.
I had some friends and whatever, and I left all that, right? And in the US, there's a bit of racism. I couldn't find my friend groups. And so I hated people. Like at 13, I hated people. And I was like, no friends. Fuck friends. I'm gonna just work and do my thing. That boiled over at around 17 when I went back to school for a year, and then I couldn't socialize. It was horrible. And then so that was a good amount of getting used to society again because of the homeschooling.
Interesting. Okay, so you have Motion Miracles and you go back to school. Who was running the team at Motion Miracles at 19? How big was your team, or was it just you handling the?
It's a classic case of startup, small team, naive entrepreneur. Unlike other people, I had financial freedom earlier. And some people have to build it up, and I did it very intuitively, in the sense, instinctively. So I had no foundational elements when I started the company. I literally just dove into it head first. I'm like, this is how I always did it as an individual, and it's worked. And it doesn't work in teams. So I had a lot of growing up to do. But it was a small team. It was the initial team was 4 people who, we actually, I think Motion Miracles, we cycled at least 2 times of people. We don't have the founding team. So yeah, like 4 people. We were just working. It was like looking back, it was really bad. Oh gosh. And,
I'm sure you're gonna have some pretty horrific stories. The human resource part, finding that the right people is pretty difficult, right? Even now I'm like 29, and I still find it very challenging because you're basing your reputation, saying, okay, you're hiring this person for a certain reason, and then the company above you, this is your company, but still you have a lot of your own stuff on the line.
Yeah.
At that time, how was it challenging to figure out whether, okay, you know what, I have a group of people who are interested in like working with me. Was it naivety that you got them, or you said you cycled the founders a couple of times, right? At that time, how did you filter that out?
Oh yeah. Honestly, I dove head first, like just as like I was a sportsman, kind of impulsive, didn't think too much. I was like, I've hired people based on potential, because in Sri Lanka you don't have established game development studios. You can't pick off a game developer. You can't like. Doesn't work that way. You have to take who has potential to be a good developer and you train them. And oh my, like this is like a good conversation. Like it's like it's such a complicated thing. Basically, finding talent, at least here in Sri Lanka, it's near impossible to be like, hey, we have a job role open for game development. And we're looking for a game developer to fill that job role. It's impossible. You have to literally put the job role up, then work with universities to either train them up or work with individuals that you find in the industry who show potential and a potential mindset to adopt that role. Right. So it's also bad in some ways, because we have to really dive deep into that person and make a huge bet that this person would like this role, right? Because when he grows, when you train that person, you don't even know if they want that role anymore. So that's the role of a university, is to make people figure it out early in the university what type of role they want in the job ecosystem. And we have to now do that, right? So I'm talking about now, but at the time I just hired whoever had some basic game development experience, put them on a one year project to build a mobile game. Stupid decisions, but and it was like very slow. No one knew what they were doing. I didn't put the effort in properly to lead the team. I didn't know what that meant. I just like me, like I put myself in a position and I figured it out, and I expected the team to do that, and. No.
You probably would have been let down like big time.
Oh yeah, for years, and then I finally realized that everyone just needs hand holding. Well, like if you identify someone who doesn't need hand holding, just let them be. But majority, like 99.9% of people, just need training, need a conventional system. And self-training and stuff is just intangible. You can't really track it, and it's a bit hard to put into a structure.
Interesting. Okay, so what about nowadays? Like, I know you spoke about the hiring process. Like, how big is your team? Not only the motion miracles, like with everything that you do. How much of a team do you manage?
So right now it's about 25 people. We actually scale down, right? We're quite financially stable. We have like over a year of money.
Nice.
But we said, amazing, let's scale the culture. Let's scale what we're trying to build now. And we focus on high quality and all this stuff. So I decided that we got to let go a bunch of people who don't fit this, because otherwise we're building on a not so solid foundation. So we did that. So from like 33 to 25, maybe 24. And then, and now we've just hired a person from Poland. We're hiring people from India. We got our first person in the US potentially coming in. So we're scaling slowly, right? So that's that slowly, like, but steadily, like trying to build the foundations for exponential growth. So
interesting. So, okay. Since you mentioned company culture, I know like company culture is something that's spoken a lot in Sri Lankan companies, but only spoken about, right? It's just, we have a company culture, but nobody really digs into how to make that culture work, like make the statement, we have a, supporting culture or whatever. They just say that, hire you, and when you come into the company, it's completely, either it's bureaucratic or either it's, like it's a dictatorship. What's company culture like at Motion Miracles, and how much is it important to you in building your, in achieving your vision and mission, I guess?
So over the last couple of years, I've really put in stone the founding principles of the company, right? It really represents a platform for people and companies. A lot of people claim the company is this decentralized bullshit, but it's really not. And it's very fucking hard. It's like so hard to do it. You need a very strong management team. So what we've done, I'll give some example and just like what we're trying to establish. So if I was to really sort of summarize it, Motion Miracles is like literally like sort of mini companies within itself.
Right.
Like we focus very much on teams and facilitating those teams in whatever format we can. And when I say we, it's mostly me at this point. I'm trying to find more managers who can do this. So I'll give examples. So the hyper casual teams, which is our main products teams that generate the most value in the company. We have given them like full freedom. They can do everything from ideation, execution, publishing. They even have commissions on their projects. Like as soon as we receive money from our publishers, that immediately gets transferred to them in commissions, because we want to simulate the idea that they own their team, they own their company, right? Like it's like those types of small things. They have a budget of $1,000 a day to push and test their games. They can, they get a coach as well. Like they have a coach, they have weekly goals with training them to get a good mindset of being able to work in teams better. We give them a leisure expense budget of like $150K. They can just do whatever they like, rent a room, go somewhere, remote work. And obviously this is all good if you empower the right people. If you empower the people who don't know what to do with power or with their responsibility, it's just going to be a shit show, right? That's why we had to let go of a couple of people, and we're very picky, extremely picky. Like if we see that there's no culture fit, we actually keep them freelance for a couple months. If they're still in love with the company, and they've worked with our teams long enough to be like, hey, I can bond with these guys now. Then we can consider them. But we're very, it's like it's also not the best. It makes people feel excluded also. We try our best to make things inclusive.
Interesting.
With our training, we have mindset training, we have modules, courses.
What happens when Anish gets upset at the office?
That means if Anish is upset and people weren't informed, that means I didn't lay down the clear instructions of what Motion Miracles represents. So basically, I can be mad around the instructions in the sense that here's what Motion Miracles represents. We represent high quality product. We represent transparency and all these specific things, which sometimes isn't very clear, and that's what I'm working on refining these days. And if someone is guiltily doing something, right, and doing something completely, they know at their heart it's not right, I point that out. I'm like, what are you doing? Because, so, clearly lay it out, and it's a very difficult thing. It requires great communication. But yeah, so that's there. But at the beginning, I was like a bit of a tyrant, I would say, like a bit of an asshole. But I wanted something really bad. I wanted great products. I wanted games being built in Sri Lanka. I wanted a top hit game, right? We had a game number 4 in the US, crazy. 1 million downloads, right? So I wanted stuff like that. I didn't know how to do it, but I was like pushing people the way I knew. Right. And naturally, some people made an enemy of me in the company. Like Anish is like a little bit of a dictator sort of thing. But then I had to learn a bit of things. I went through coaching, counseling, therapy, and I realized that people need instruction. People need to know the insides of Anish, which is also the insides of Motion Miracles. To then, when I yell at them, not yell, but rather be assertive and say, hey, it's here. What are you doing? And then they can be like, yeah, you're right. You're right. I didn't really think about it too much. And we can come to a conclusion way fast. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting. Wow, that's a pretty interesting answer. I wasn't expecting that, but yeah, cool. So you've been your own boss for like since you were 13 years old, apart from your parents telling you what to do occasionally. I guess my next question would be in the form, okay, you dealt with clients or maybe vendors, right? Whenever you have to work with other people where you can't really tell them what to do, but you say what your situation is. For example, if you're working for a client or if you're working for a vendor or if you want something from a vendor, there's a communication issue and sometimes you get upset. There are frustrations. Have you had any experience where you had to just leave the room out of emotional
with clients
or anybody you had? For example, in my context it would be my boss, right? But you're always your boss, so you would be clients or people outside the company where you just had to get up and leave because things weren't happening.
I mean, I should, but when I'm in a negotiation spot, I love it.
Right.
And in business, in personal life, you back down sometimes. You need to care about that person's emotions. But in business, it's like you need to present a case and an argument. And I work my ass off. So whenever something is in we don't agree on something, whether it's with a client or a team member, I stand my ground very solidly.
Right.
And I can create this distortion field. It's like I can convince people of anything. Like even when I work with clients, if there's a disagreement, I'll figure out something to negotiate something very diplomatically so that it doesn't end up in this thing. But no, honestly, I haven't left the room. I've blew up, I would say. I was I won't name names, but there was this one person who was literally he needed to improve, right? He needed to improve his modeling skills, and I was like, you need to improve. This is really bad, and he became very defensive. He's like, no, this is really good, and I'm like, where do you want to go? What do you mean? This is the level of the people who created God of War, and you're telling me your models is as good as these guys who've trained years and years and the best of the best. It's like, yes. Right. I'm like, so why don't you go work there? And he's like, because I don't want to. I'm like, oh my god.
Oh my god.
Oh my god. Okay, wow. I didn't know what to do with that. I was like, boom. But I know there's an emotional thing there. But this is work, so it's very different.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's.
I think that's something that I find a little difficult to thread between emotional, because fortunately and unfortunately, I am right now in a workplace where I work with a lot of friends, and it's been great so far. But there are occasions when, things get a little difficult and you can't say certain things because obviously you're entangled between work and then your friendship.
Right.
How have you ever, obviously you might have had to deal with situations, but nowadays how would you, as somebody who manages people, in case you do hire a friend or work with friends, what would you start off the relationship as
I honestly, it really depends on the person's value structure. Right. To me, there's a clear distinguishment, but to everyone else, it can be blurry. So you need to the friends need to know that, and you need to know who you're working with at the end of the day. Right. And if the friend is able to clearly distinguish, then it's fine. But I live with so I'm doing co-living with some of the Motion Miracles people as well. Right, and some other people as well. Right, and there is so I can yell at them. I don't yell, I'm just exaggerating, but I'm like, what are you doing? You need to do this. And then right after the meeting, we're like, I'm on the computer,
okay.
they're on the computer there, and then we see each other. Hey, you want to grab a beer or something?
Right. Interesting.
That's there. But no, I think it depends on the level of
It depends on the people you surround yourself with, I guess. If they have the same work ethic.
At the end of the day, if we can really understand business is business, and that's fine, because business is business in the sense that business is about structure, about working for the world, about impact, and blah, 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 blah.
Okay.
And this is why it needs to cancel out specific emotions, feelings, da da da. Then we can be like, hey, I yelled at you because it's business. That's how it is in business.
Right.
Try and understand all this why.
It goes without saying. Right.
Yeah. And then you just don't take no hard feelings, because you're functioning within like acting. It's like a role play. You're role playing, you're acting in a movie, and suddenly you get offended because this guy was acting.
Right. Interesting. That's an interesting analogy.
It's weird.
Yeah. So guys, one last thing I want to dive into, because it's a bit of a trend in mostly the circles that I am in, and I assume that's the case in a lot of people. A lot of people like to shit on the education system, right? Saying, our education system is failing us and this and that. But you and I think we pretty much went through the same era of the education system. But then, I learned my entire freelance career online, everything that I do. There's nothing that I learned in school. You learned everything. You went out on your own. Why are people just bashing the education system when everything is available for free to go online and just learn? Like, why do you think that happens?
I always have long answers to this.
I'm hoping there's a long answer to this.
I'll try to summarize. Human beings aren't built to be on their own, right? We're built to be in structures, in communities, so that our sense of well-being isn't attacked, right? When you're in a self-learning journey, you can be attacked as an individual. If you fail as an individual, but you've been trained by a university, the university gets attacked, and that's a team of people. Right. Institutions are built for that reason. Right, it's to protect our individuality, and if institutions fail us, now we're failing all these individuals going into this self-learning, into this path of just loneliness and no community and all this stuff, to be attacked directly. I used to do that because I was self-learned. So as soon as I see someone slacking, it's them. It's not the university. It's not their parents. It's them. I'm like, you suck, and then you feel like shit. If I tell them your training sucked, I'm really sorry about that. Hey, let's try and get you on some training now. And now it's liable to Motion Miracles as the company, not me, not anyone else. And there's even legal structures exist for that reason, right? So anyway, institutions, at the end of the day, institutions have failed. Right? They're supposed to get their shit together and be able to train people, but now, because they're not people, and it's so hard to integrate to curriculum and improve curriculum, because they're teachers, you're going to employ people and all that, blah, blah, blah. Now self-learning has become the thing. But I think it's going to revert back a little bit if things solidify a bit better. But anyway, yes, things are available. I just think that education has to be a bit more personalized. Right. But if you look at the rapid population growth, like how do you accommodate 7 billion people to have a personalized education? Right. That doesn't work. So basically, education hasn't scaled well. That's the summary there. Right. Self-learning has scaled. And you can personalize it with Google, you can search, you're basically self-personalizing. But now education has to personalize. And that's a very hard problem. If anyone can solve that problem, now you're going to have self-learning becoming maybe less of a big thing. Right. But I think the fundamentals of
that's pretty interesting.
Has to be in
that's the first time. That's a perspective that I've never heard before. But pretty interesting. Wow, dude, I'm pretty amazed at this shit. How old are you, by the way, if you don't mind me asking now, at this moment?
I'm 23.
Oh my god, dude. That's crazy. The shit that you're doing at 23. God, what was I just graduated when I was really 3.5 Blade. I'm still living with my parents, but yeah, that's pretty amazing. I reconnected with you. What you're doing right now is through your social media, obviously Instagram and YouTube. Maybe not YouTube, maybe Instagram a lot, and you've been posting on there, and you're coming, and obviously I saw that you've been living with a couple of your other friends as well. What's the social media move? What's the plan on that end, apart from the whole business and entrepreneur?
I mean, the reason why I'm uploading and stuff is because, I believe, I do it for fun because I love sharing things. But then I also have a interest in terms of building a better tool for people to create content. That's Wibble, right? And I've been if I was to actually explain the inception of it as well, for context, I used to make these. I'm heavily into education, and and as a kid, when I just got out of school and I was starting a business, I was going to schools and teaching animation and 3D, right? So, but then I had a bottleneck. I couldn't build my work and teach. So I stopped the teaching. I said, I'm going to make vlogs to showcase what I'm doing for my work, and people can follow it, right? And they can understand. And then I realized I was doing 4 hours of work and 4 hours of editing, and I'm like, this doesn't work. So I stopped the vlogs, and I was like, this is weird. I know something can exist that will allow me to vlog and teach through the vlogs and work on my career. So that's when I started the work on Wibble, right? And now I'm at a place with the app that I can vlog for, I can vlog a 7-hour day or whatever and edit for 15 minutes. Right. And it's with the concept of on-the-go editing. It might not be as engaging as post-editing, but it's still something that allows me to share content. So, and I'm feeling like I'm enjoying it now. Right. So I'm just doing it, trying things out. I'm not doing it for anyone but myself as well. I'm a bit selfish there.
We all secretly are.
Yeah, I know, right? I'm secretly asking for self-development. When I'm watching this thing, I'm trying to communicate my ideas, my philosophy a bit better. So the vlogs help. And I'm just doing it for fun. It's like a breather as well. It's also, entrepreneurship is a bit lonely at times. So vlogging can, help speak out and you feel better after. And yeah, so that's really the concept.
That's pretty cool, dude. Okay. I know, we've been talking for a while now. I appreciate that you jumped on the call, especially on the 1st of 2021.
Oh my gosh, I still feel like my brain is all over the place. I don't feel like
I was extremely surprised when I saw that slot open. I was like, okay, let me grab that. Because
oh no, it's so evil.
I'm sorry. Because for me, I know I've always spent 31st at home. You probably hang because you've got a lot of, because you're not living at home, right? You're living with a bunch of other people your age.
Yeah. Oh no, we barely see each other. We're all workaholics here.
Right, interesting. Cool, dude. Anyway, thanks a lot, man. I appreciate you. I'm sure you've got a pretty hectic rest of the week left and pretty big plans. What else are you working on? Apart from, what are your plans with Sri Lanka? Do you plan on staying in Sri Lanka? Do you plan on heading out?
Really,
right. What's the end goal? For Anish. Yeah.
I honestly, I want more resources for my mind. That's basically what it is.
Right.
I want more capacity for my mind to be facilitated and have teams associated with the products I want to build. So whatever gets me there. So Motion Miracles is like a stepping stone. Wibble is, all these things are. And I want my final impact to be in education and creating personalized education, basically, and a bit more love focused and nurturing focused. But in terms of midterm, I want to establish Motion Miracles, Sri Lanka to have a dev operation, but the creative operation happens abroad in potentially Canada. That's where we're currently looking at. And we have my brother actually set up there as well. Right. So Canada, and then we move whoever's creative from Sri Lanka to Canada, but we have the dev operations in Sri Lanka and India. Right. And then Europe has a bunch of good talent as well. But we want the headquarters in Canada. And then New York will be also my brain center, like creative center, because my other company is set up in New York. And then so that's sort of the setup. And I want to live like elsewhere, have dev operations here. Honestly, it's very, very rare to have an encounter here where I'll be like, I'll show my app and I feel like, I'll get nothing out of this. But then I show my app to someone established or something. It's like, they say, hey, shut up. I want to use this without you disturbing me. And then they tell me all this stuff and I'm just vibing, that does not happen here. So I am going to hop off for a bit, but I'll always have something here.
Interesting. Okay, so just to wrap things up, if there is a teenager that wants to get into game development in Sri Lanka, what do they do?
Oh my gosh, in Sri Lanka.
Where do they start?
Join up. Just message me and say it because we have training. Forget universities here. We're actually changing. We're actually speaking to universities too.
Nice.
At the moment, I'm reshaping a bunch of curriculum. So so for now, us.
Pretty crazy. Amazing, Anish. I appreciate you jumping again. Inspiring work. I love the beatboxing and the guitar playing as well. I'm a guitarist myself, but you're doing some crazy shit with it. So pretty amazing. Thanks a lot, man. I guess we can stop the recordings now. I'll probably put an outro.
I'll just say bye to the camera. Bye. Peace.